Auburn, I'm used to reading. Industrial Revenue Bond for the Industrial Development Board.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is a project that perhaps the members have heard about. It was announced by the governor a month or two ago. It's known as the ILC project. It has to do with the bringing in of the suppliers onto the campus at the Smyrna facility, and it involves basically the tax abatement of 20 years for 2/3 for the real property and 100% for the personal property, although the personal property is a very small component of the project. So that, in actuality, the dollars foregone is not very much on the personalty. It is a 20-year project. The $100 million is the capital investment that is this component of the larger project, and the governor announced it as $160 million and 1,000 new employees, whereas this piece of it that's under a new pilot would be $100 million and 600 employees for that 20-year period. The ratio exceeds 3-to-1, and although this is a request for the issuance of $100 million of industrial revenue bonds, this is a tax abatement project, payment in lieu of tax agreement. And I do have Mr. Jim Rose with operations with Nissan, or Steve Miller, who's a state and local tax man, if the commissioners would like to hear any further explanation that's beyond my ability to give.
Is this normal for us to give a 100% abatement on the, I believe you said
the personal.
I don't recall that before.
There's not a real easy way to answer that, but I guess the best way is to say no, but for the fact that of the 100 million, only 1.75 million of it is personalty. So although that sounds like a significant tax break in actual dollars, it is extremely insignificant. And anyway, that was what was presented, and that was what was approved by the board.
When you say presented by the applicant?
Yes, that's correct. Although the applicant typically works with the Destination Rutherford people to come up with what they believe is appropriate, and so it's not simply something that's cooked up by the company.
Well, the commission itself is approved. Y'all having that leeway to go ahead and approve these.
Yes, sir.
As long as the return is at least 3-to-1.
That's correct.
So what exactly is the return on this?
It was. Hold on.
We're talking about a lot of zeros in that one there.
It is 3.24 to 1. So it does exceed the approved cost benefit ratio.
The IDB board's got a pretty good track record. They've been bringing good deals to us for a number of years. I don't remember one making it up here that we didn't feel comfortable supporting, because the ones that shouldn't be approved never make it to us. But we'll be glad to call up these two experts, or we'll take a motion, whatever the board chooses.
I only remember a couple that didn't come through in here, like a call center that didn't meet its goals is all since I've been here. So I'll make a motion we approve the tax abatement, the $100 million.
Thank you, Commissioner Schaefer.
Second.
Second, Commissioner Jernigan. Any further discussion? You can call the roll, I guess. This is too big a number to do a voice vote. Mr. Baum?
Yes.
Commissioner Jernigan?
Yes.
Commissioner Peake?
Yes.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan? Yes. Thank you very much, Council. Appreciate you gentlemen being here.
Thank you, folks. Much appreciated. Have a good night.
Investment report. Mr. Beatty wasn't able to be here tonight, but I believe Ms. Holden has that. Do you not? Or you can.
I'm not sure if they had any.
No new bids.
No new bids, and the LGIP rate is 0.09.
He was bragging about it hitting double digits last month. So he wasn't
You
here
bragged too
tonight.
soon. I believe we can move on from that. I don't know if we need a motion to approve that, so we'll go on to the fund condition report. Ms. Nolan?
Okay, we'll start with the development tax. In April, we received $258,000. That brings our total for the fiscal year to $2,776,500. So we met our budget projection last month. This just helps the two funds, the development tax helps debt service and the general fund. That's where those monies go to. Moving to the fund condition report. At the end of April, we had $213,492,000, with $199,110,000 being operating funds, $14,382,000 being borrowed funds. Now, let's see. We did, well, that's going to happen in May when we move the $5 million over. That happened in May. Okay. I don't have anything else on here unless somebody else has a question. If not, I'll go to the cash revenue review. If you all remember, at the beginning of this fiscal year, when we reconvened, we had a change in the certified tax rate, and I was concerned then about the numbers that we were using from the assessor, and I was concerned that we would have a shortage in the current levy, but utility districts came in a whole lot better than I had projected. So the end of my story is 100% collected on current levy. So that's a good thing. 9 months reporting for sales tax for all governments is 9.4% higher than we were for the 9 months last year. The current levy is at 2.1% higher. We met our projections for building permits, development tax, circuit court. They are, as far as December, at the end of April, they were as far as December for their general sessions, and February from their other courts. So they are making progress. You can look at the ending as far as where we are in total revenues compared to the prior 5 years. I think pretty much every one of them are in good shape. The only one lagging would be the drug control fund, and there is money coming in that's behind, that's the courts. They get some money coming from the courts, so when they catch up, we'll see that there.
Any further questions, Ms. Nolan?
Motion approved.
Thank you, Mr. Jernigan.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Baum. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Right along.
Not
Risk
me.
management financial report, Ms. Street. How are you this evening?
I'm fine, how are you?
Fine.
We're beginning with Fund 264. For the month of April, our self-funded claims ended at $838 compared to prior year of $768, for a year-to-date average of $881 compared to prior year of $873. Combining the on-site medical clinic, our PEPM increases to $879 compared to $804 prior year, with the current year-to-date average of $915 compared to $908 prior. In Fund 266, year-to-date at the end of April is $539,579 compared to the prior year of $1,418,755.
Any questions of Ms. Street of the monthly report?
Motion approved.
Thank you, Commissioner Jernigan.
Second.
Second, Commissioner Shaper. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Moving right along to 2015-16 property and casualty renewal. Welcome, Ms. Bowman. Glad to see you can join us
Thank
tonight.
you.
Glad to be here.
Ms. Bone with CCMSI will present the renewal that they gave to the insurance committee.
First off, I'll start off with the good news. We have a check coming back for $11,587.28 for a subrogation claim. So I'll pass that on. It's noted in there. So that's always good news. That's for the Board of Education. Okay, the insurance exposure is the first information. The first section is the property section. So you're looking at, in the first column, the property, the county buildings, and then you've got the expiring information, the renewal information, the difference, and then the percentage of the difference. So if you look at the county building values, expiring was at the $169,793,401. The renewal is at $171,601,056. Looking at a 1% difference, or roughly $1.8 million difference. In the contents, the expiring was at $10,429,130. The renewal is at $10,556,582 for a difference of the $127,452 or 1%. With the school building values, you'll see the expiring at the $844,959,042. The renewal at $863,810,162. The difference of $18,851,120 or 2%. The contents values remain the same. The next section goes over your inland marine, your contractor's equipment, your vehicles, the contractor miscellaneous equipment, your musical instruments, and then fire rescue ambulance. You'll see kind of it highlighted there in the pink. It was kind of just broken out a little bit different this year when we received the information back. So the overall difference there is kind of a negative $718,619 for the first three categories listed. Then you can see the musical instruments broken out, increase of $118,478. So highlighted there in the yellow, you'll see the overall expiring exposures, the renewal exposures, and then the difference, and then the percentage of the difference. And that's for the first section, like it says, for the property. The second section there in the purple is for your casualty lines of coverage. These are rating bases. The vehicles, you'll see the expiring number at 687, the renewal number at 730, a difference of 43 vehicles or 6%. You'll see the total insured values on auto physical damage at 23,803,857 versus the renewal at 26,680, a difference of around 2.8 million or 11%. And then the general operating budget, you'll see the expiring, the renewal, and the difference there of around 19 million or 5%. The crime, public officials, and educators' legal liability are typically, some of the rating bases are looked at are the number of employees and the number of students. You'll see those down roughly 2%. So that's the rating bases that are pulled out when the underwriters are looking at your exposures. The next page goes into the actual renewal quote. The very first section is the property. Your current insurance carrier is Travelers Insurance Company. We're looking at the exact same limits and retentions. The rating base is a little bit different. In the green there, you'll see that the the actual rate is the exact same as the current rate in yellow, which is the second number to the end. So your rate is the same. Your exposure is a little bit different, which we had gone over in the previous page. So you're looking at that in the green, that $1,123,651,905 is the expiring rating base, combined with the county and school property. And then the new rating base information is $1,145,241,140. So the premium is that far number right there in the yellow, which is the $453,997, versus the expiring premium, which is in the green, the $445,439. So your exposure increase was 2%, your premium increase was 2%, so your renewal is pretty flat as far as there's been no rating change there. All of your inland marine limits are quoted as expiring, as is the retention. The third section goes into the casualty lines of coverage. You'll see under the casualty what's listed is the general liability, law enforcement, public officials, employment practices liability, educators legal, auto liability, auto physical damage, the sexual abuse, sexual harassment, and crime coverage. Brit Global, which is the Lloyd's of London market, is your current carrier. Your limits and retentions are identical. You'll see the expiring premium there in the green at the $628,040. You'll see the renewal limits, like I mentioned, and your retentions are exactly the same. the renewal premium there in the yellow highlighted, and then in the green, the actual premium dollars at the $650,000. We always quote on the general liability the TRIA, that's your terrorism coverage, as an option. In the past, y'all have chosen not to purchase that coverage, but we always provide that quote. That's there at the very bottom. This quote is the option at $5,266. That would be in addition to that $650,000 if you chose to take that. So the exposure increase for your casualty lines was at 5%. Your premium increase was at 4%. So really a difference of minus 1% there.
Just a comment on that, the insurance committee's recommendation was not to take the TRIA coverage as we've done in years past.
Okay, the next section goes into the auxiliary officers, and this is for the sheriff's department. There are approximately 120, I think, deputized employees, or I'm sorry, volunteers that work. This is kind of an accident policy that covers them in the event that something were to happen while in the line of duty. Right now, your current plan is Plan 1, and you'll see on the second page plan, you'll see the limits and you can see the sections. I won't go through all of that unless there's specific information you want to talk about. You'll see the coverages outlined with the limits, and then Plan 1 has a premium of $5,965. There was a recommendation by the insurance committee to opt to Plan 2. Basically, you'll see the difference in Plan 2 in that first section under death benefits. You'll see it's providing coverage for final expense benefits. It's expiring a seatbelt benefit, airbag benefit, and spousal benefit.
It also has a paralysis benefit that's included on the first page as well.
Okay. And so then the Plan 2 coverage, or I'm sorry, the Plan 2 premium is at $6,242. The next section is similar to the auxiliary, but this is going to cover the volunteer firefighters. Right now, the volunteer firefighters is under Plan 1, which has, you'll see the 50,000 limits, and you see the different sections and the different limits. The premium for Plan 1 is on the second page, and that premium is $3,819. Again, the recommendation from the insurance committee was to go with Plan 2. It's carrying the same limits, but again, it's providing that spousal benefit in conjunction with the other benefits that are already listed. Any questions?
And how many total people are on this particular plan? You said that these are auxiliary officers and
Right.
volunteers.
Correct. On the
Jeez.
on the auxiliary officers, we've got those rated at 120, and on the fire department, we've got those rated at 80.
It's lower than I thought it would be on the volunteers.
I hope everybody was able to take all that in, a lot of information right there in just a couple of minutes, but I take it this did pass unanimously at the insurance committee.
Yes.
Was there much bidding by other
Talk about
companies?
your market that you go to.
Yeah, typically what we do is we'll send it out to about 3 or 4 different markets just to kind of test the markets out there, what's going on. We did get a couple of numbers back. They were substantially higher because they felt like the trends and the losses were going up a little bit on the errors and emissions side. So not anything I would be willing to bring back to the board as far as from the premium standpoint and the coverage standpoint.
And really what you saw was a flat increase across the board. It was just our exposure limits went up, which drops the premium.
Yeah, had your exposures remained the same, your premium would have remained the same.
So to recap, the insurance committee had made the recommendation to accept the premium increase, to not accept the TRIA, and to take Plan 2 on the Provident coverage.
It's the same as last year, people and everything. I mean, the companies.
Right, that's
Correct,
correct.
right.
Well, I'll make the motion then that we take the insurance committee's recommendation on the property and casualty renewal.
Thank you, Commissioner
I'll
Shaker.
second it.
Second, Commissioner Fee. Any further discussion? Call the roll.
Commissioner Baum?
Yes.
Commissioner Jernigan?
Yes.
Commissioner P?
Yes.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan?
Yes. Passes. Number 16, flexible spending contract.
I have paper copies for you all, so I know it's difficult to see all those numbers.
Thank you, Ms. Bowman.
If you're interested in this. We did our flexible spending accounts as well as COBRA. Here, I'll put them on. This is Mr. Brown from Callan Benefits. I'll allow him to walk through these particular bids for discussion.
All right, we have two, the FSA and the COBRA that we're, I think, going to
The
vote on
FSA
together.
is first. Mhm.
And essentially, we sent this out to market. We received 5 proposals back, and the contract was up. So we went out to the market, and then we've also had declining service from the current vendor. As you can kind of see through, we had 5 different that came back. We went through the proposals. The insurance administrators met with 2 finalists. We narrowed it down to ADP and WageWorks. You can see the cost there. The current through Task is $5 per employee per month. ADP's $2.70, and WageWorks is $3.50. There's about 850 employees in the FSA program. There was a setup fee for Task and ADP. So when you look at the total cost here, currently paying around $51,000 through Task. ADP is coming in at $27,865. WageWorks is coming in at $35,700. The motion was made to kind of pick WageWorks over ADP, even though they were about $7,800 higher, mainly due to their presentation, their online capabilities, and then some of their references. One of their local references is the city of Murfreesboro. Another thing to note on this particular one is that Callan Benefits does pay for this fee for the county, so this is not something that would be as part of the budget. So our recommendation is looking through this as well. Based on our experience, as WageWorks has done a better job with the FSA than the ADP, so we're kind of willing to pay the $7,800 extra just to ensure that if we're leaving Task due to service issues, to make sure we put you with the vendor that's doing the best job.
And how have you checked WageWorks? I mean, how do you know they're doing better?
We have other clients that have them today. City of Murfreesboro is one of them that's had them for almost a year now, and then we have 3 or 4 others that have been there longer than that.
Question. I think I heard this yesterday, heard what you said, but I just wanted to get clarification and bring it out. If a person's got a flexible spending account, let's just say that person happens to be a teacher and they retire. They retire in mid-year, roughly, basically. They pay out at the end of their June paycheck, pays that when they stop paying, they don't pay in August and July and August. And they quit then, but say they put in $100 a month for 10 months, that's $1,000. They can go, if that person wanted to, they could, and they had the claims, they could put in for $1,000 worth of claims, and they would get it because that's what the company is showing, is that they're $1,000 for the year.
So terminations work a little bit differently. What we talked about yesterday in the purchasing meeting was that we front the money on the flexible spending accounts. So if someone goes one day to the doctor and they incur $1,000 and they swipe their debit card that day, it's going to swipe for $1,000 even if they resign the next day.
And so
the terminations of employment, the administration process is slightly different than someone who goes ahead and uses the benefits prior to terminating.
Okay. Well, what I'm getting at is on this then is somebody up and leaves in January,
right?
Uses it all for the year. Does the county have any recourse in getting back?
No, that's some of the federal laws around the flexible spending account.
But yet we have, I believe you said, 850 out of 6,000 employees that participate in this. Okay.
And I do track those type of things. Our experience with that happening, and it's not collected on the back end, it is not a large amount of money. Okay. So Likewise, in the past, we've had some that haven't utilized that money in the 12-month period, and they're not refunded that balance either. Again, that's part of the laws around
That's what we
the
talked about last
program.
night, it's that side, so typically the people that don't use their money and the people that use too much, it kind of washes itself
Right.
out at the end of the year.
But now they've got the next year to use.
They can roll
the
over $500, right, which is better for the employees.
All right. Okay. Made it a little clearer. And I think now everybody got to hear it. That's all.
Do we want to go ahead and take action on this, or
We voted for the FSA and COBRA as
Yeah.
one piece.
continue on?
And largely due to that, we narrowed down the same two vendors for the COBRA administration down to ADP and WageWorks as well. And so really when we brought both of them in for their presentation on the FSA and the COBRA, we were pretty consistent in our feelings after that meeting that the overall presentation of WageWorks was better. Still the capabilities references came in. And so for a couple different reasons. One, to try to consolidate vendors here and use the same vendor for the FSA and COBRA to hopefully minimize some of the work for the insurance or risk management department. Our recommendation and the insurance committee's recommendation was to select WageWorks as well for COBRA, even though when we kind of go through the cost, Infinisource is your current vendor. The overall cost annually that we see for them at the very bottom is around $58,719. WageWorks was lower than that at $40,707, but about $2,700 more than ADP at the $37,940. But the insurance committee did, I think, unanimously vote together to pick WageWorks for both the FSA and the COBRA.
So there was a couple other factors in there that we need to mention. One is the annual enrollment mailings. There is a cost differential there. The numbers that's in the total is estimated numbers based on packages that are mailed out. And there is, so the more we mail out, the more costs we incur. The other number that's not reflected in here is the staff cost, which it takes to run two separate vendors as well as the COBRA administration aspect. And after meeting with both of the two companies, it was felt that WageWorks was better positioned to manage the COBRA for us. We felt more comfortable with the answers they provided us in terms of their understanding of some of the requirements based on our knowledge as well. And so we will gain efficiencies by utilizing the same vendor for both of these.
And one question was asked too of the P&A group in some of the last committees. They're coming in at $26,000. Well, why weren't they considered? And essentially, they're kind of a broker partner, and the vendors that they brought in to manage the account for the county was Infinisource and Task, which are your current vendors that we're having the customer service issues with. So even though they were lower, we really weren't getting away from the problem of why we were bidding it.
If there's not any further questions, we'll entertain a motion for both of these, flexible spending and the COBRA.
I'll make a motion to approve the insurance committee's recommendations.
Thank you, Commissioner Fee. Second, Commissioner Schaefer. All those in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion passed. 2016 voluntary insurance contract.
All right, this one has a few more numbers on there on the sheet. It may be a little small on your iPad, so you definitely have the hard copy for that. It might be easier to see. But essentially, the contract had expired. We had a 3-year contract with 2 one-year extensions with Allstate, your current voluntary benefit carrier. We sent it out to bid. We had 3 come back, Allstate, Unum, and Aflac was the third. We did send out invitations for all 3 of them to come back to finalist presentations. At the end of the day, Aflac didn't show up for their presentation, so we narrowed it down to Allstate and Unum as our 2 options to consider. Essentially, as we go down through here, the common theme, essentially, before we look at the numbers, is that Unum did provide a richer overall, a better benefit selection than Allstate. So I want to make sure we say that on the front end. But essentially, if you look, there's 3 different products you guys offer. The county offers on the voluntary benefits through Allstate today: the accident, the cancer product, and a critical illness. You can kind of see those on the left side. As far as the ratings, today you offer just one option for the accident. The rates are there under the current rates. For example, employee only is $15.52 per month. The Allstate rate stayed the same for the low option. They are offering a high option as well. So essentially they're offering a low and high option, meaning the low option's a lesser benefit. So maybe, for example, an accident policy essentially is if you have an accident and you're confined to the hospital, or if you break your finger, you get a certain benefit paid to you directly by the insurance company. And so the low option may only give you $200 per day, whereas the high may give you $400 a day. And so that's the difference in the cost. As you can see, that the rates are about the same. It really depends on what tier that you're in between Allstate and Unum for this particular product. The employee only is $15.52 for the low option with Allstate. It's $16.29 for Unum, so that Unum rate's a little higher. But for the spouse, Unum's a little lower. For the child, they're a little lower, and for the family, they're a little higher. So essentially, that was a wash. But like I said before, the Unum benefits are a little richer, and I can show you that. But really, where it kind of came in to be a bigger benefit for the county to consider Unum was under the cancer and the critical illness. Today, if you're diagnosed with cancer under the Allstate product, it really depends on your level of care provided as to how much money you receive for that benefit. So if you're hospitalized, if you have chemotherapy treatment, things like that determine how much you would receive for a cancer benefit. And on average, what Allstate said was that it's paying out about $2,900, I believe it was, per episode or incident. The Unum proposal, what they're proposing is, and this is kind of a trend over the last 5 years, is to put the cancer with the critical illness benefit. And that wasn't necessarily the trend 5 years ago, but essentially what that means, critical illness says, is if you have a stroke, if you have a heart attack, you just get a flat sum benefit. And for your benefits, you can get a $5,000 up to, I believe, a $20,000 benefit, depending on how much you're willing to pay. For this example, we just assumed a $10,000 benefit. So with the Unum policy, if you're diagnosed with cancer, you would receive a $10,000 benefit, unlike the Allstate. The same thing with the Unum product is that it doesn't matter how many times you have different instances. So if you have a heart attack, 3 years later you have a stroke, then you would get 2 different payouts. Whereas under the Allstate product, if it fell into certain categories, it would only pay out one time. So in that example, it would only pay out the one time. So that's from the benefit perspective. As far as the cost, there's a lot of numbers on this sheet. But essentially, if you look at the critical illness at the bottom, there's 2 sets of critical illness rates. What we did is we added, under Allstate, the critical illness and the cancer benefit above. So you can kind of see if the 2 benefits were combined with Allstate, what that would look like. And then Unum had proposed the 2 benefits together. To kind of follow with me, make sure you see a number here. So the critical illness $10,000 benefit in that bottom section, if you're a non-tobacco user and you're 18 to 35, the employee rate's $17.88 under Allstate. See that number? If you had the Unum product for that same benefit, if you look over to the left, right side, it would be $7.60 per month. And under the Unum policy, if you select it as an employee, you automatically receive the child benefit as well. Whereas if you had the child benefit with the Allstate, you kind of scroll over, you'd be paying $23.96 for that same $7.60 benefit. So under the Unum policy, it's a richer benefit, and the rates are lower until you get down to age 50. So at age 50, you can see under Allstate, if you're still kind of tracking with me, it's $32.48 for an employee, and for age 50, it's $35.20 for Unum. Now, however, you do get the children under that plan, so that benefit under Allstate would have been $38.56 if you're kind of comparing apples and apples. But the kind of things we've come across, if you look at the family rates are lower. Essentially, what we've said in the insurance committee, your average age is around 42, 43 years old. So your average employee would come out with a richer benefit, lower cost. Also, what's a little different under the voluntary benefits is if a member, you currently have about 750 employees under the product today. If they're, for example, just an easy example, if they're 70 years old and they're paying $59.88 today, and under the Unum policy they'd be paying $103.80, they do have the ability to continue with the Allstate product. So once we terminate that group contract with the county with Allstate, they will reach out to the members, and if you want to work out a direct bill payment with them, you can keep that existing policy with Allstate at that rate. So you're not required to move on to the Unum policy if it's not advantageous to you. So I think I covered, another thing just to note is that you are locked in at these rates. So if you're 43 is the average age and you get this lower benefit rate with Unum, you're locked in at that rate. So it doesn't go up as you grow older. A lot of times the supplemental life insurance you guys have today, if you purchase the supplemental life insurance, it goes up every 5 years. As you get older, it gets more expensive. This one locks in at that rate. So I believe that's mostly, unless you guys have some questions, I can get into some more detail, but that's.
And then the other 2 pages attached just give you the side-by-side comparison. And just, you can quickly look at this. It's a good visual aid to let you see the richer benefits that the Unum product offers. And because this is 100% employee paid, you know, we try to look at all those various aspects to ensure that we're doing our due diligence to make sure that if they make an election of the voluntary benefit, then they're getting the most benefit that they can for their dollar.
It doesn't sound like they're gonna lose if they can hang on to the Allstate. You know,
Right.
if
This
they
one's a
go the
little
other
easier,
route.
yeah, because you're not penalizing them by moving.
Right.
If they want to stay, they can.
Mr. Chairman, you ready for a motion on that?
I'm ready.
I'll make a motion to approve the, I believe it's Unum. What's your
Yes, sir.
proposal?
Motion to accept the insurance committee's recommendation. Do we have a
Second.
second? And a second. Mr. Bond.
But if somebody starts with Unum, you're not going to be able to change to Allstate in the future.
Right.
And if you're over 50, probably not going to have a whole lot of kids living with you. Well, maybe you
Depends on who you talk to.
Maybe somebody got a surprise and made money.
All those in favor of the recommendation, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Safety consultant contract.
So you have before you
Thank you, Mr. Brown.
the bid comparison for the safety. I would like to note that on number 2 under CCMSI, Ms. Bowen's welcome to come back up. She interpreted that question incorrectly, and when we were going through the bids and we asked, she provided clarification and actual proof of existing coverage on that. But we wanted to present it to you the way that the information was provided in the bid process. So I'll refer you to the last page of this document. The range of bids went from $34,000 based on our RFP specifications to $189,500 from Fisher Arnold out of Memphis. We had 2 other bids that came in at $45,600 and $77,300. We utilized CCMSI in a short-term arrangement to assist us with our safety inspections that we were finalizing this year. They did a very good job. I went with them personally on a lot of those inspections. They were very knowledgeable, very professional. The reports that we received were very thorough and timely. It spoke specifically to the OSHA regulation and corrective measures that needed. So I don't have any concerns about CCMSI being able to fulfill the contract obligations. And the insurance committee accepted the recommendation of CCMSI with an annual contract of $34,000.
I'll make the motion that we accept CCMSI.
Thank you, Commissioner Chapin.
Second.
Second, Commissioner Bond. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you, Ms. Street. Anybody's out there watching, I know that the insurance committee puts a large amount of time and effort in this, not, of course, not to mention the staff. And we passed several things here in a matter of 10 or 15 minutes, but there's been hours and hours of work on them to get to this point. Former member of the insurance committee, I'm glad to say I don't have to do that anymore.
Also, we had, at purchasing yesterday, we had this, and Ms. Street was very up on all the, and we had quite a few questions yesterday, and she was up on them, gave more than satisfactory answers, I think, so that's why I was kind of easy with it today, too.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Ms. Dahlbarn, I believe we're ready for you.
Okay.
General fund budget transfer for register of deeds.
I think we're gonna be very simple compared to all of that. Basically, what we have, we're transferring from one fund from our electronic data processing fund, some monies for a maintenance agreement from our supply line. The maintenance agreement, the reason that wasn't budgeted for that is this is equipment. When we purchased it 3 years ago, it came with maintenance. It was a 1-year warranty with 2 years maintenance that was purchased with the equipment. That expired, and then we got into an issue with EPM, which is Eastman Park Micrographics, and Kodak. They were in a battle between who was going to offer the new maintenance agreement to us. That was finally resolved, and it's going to be Kodak that's going to continue the maintenance on this equipment. This is the microfilm lab that we installed in our office. That being said, they also offered us the maintenance agreement as if it's brand new equipment. They've not aged the equipment, so I thought that was very generous of them. So we're basically just transferring money that we have in excess in our supply line into our maintenance agreement line to cover that.
Make a motion, please.
Thanks, Mr. Jernigan.
Second.
Second, Mr. Schaefer. Any further discussion? Call the roll.
Commissioner Baum?
Yes.
Commissioner Jernigan?
Yes.
Commissioner P?
Yes.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Dahlbarn. Contract with Tennessee Department of Children's Services for juvenile detention. Do we have any special juvenile detention, or?
I don't think she was going to be here tonight.
This contract has a maximum liability of $180,698. The term is for next fiscal year, from July 1st, 2015 till June 30th, 2016. The rate per day rate is $132.38. This will be the contract for holding kids in state custody.
What was it last year? Same?
I believe it's the same.
I don't recall an increase over several years.
We've only had, we're in the first year we've had this in a long time. We just restarted that recently.
Well, there's no surprises here.
No, this is just a continuation.
I'll make a motion to approve this
Thank you,
contract.
Commissioner Pete.
Second.
Thank you,
If whoever
Commissioner
needs
Jernigan.
to sign it, the ability to sign it for us too, so.
Call the roll.
Commissioner Baum?
Yes.
Commissioner Jernigan?
Yes.
Commissioner P?
Yes.
Commissioner Schaefer?
You must have stepped
Oh,
out.
I'm sorry. Commissioner Jordan?
Yes. Mr. Gregory, grant with PetSmart's charity for paws.
As part of the rescue wagon program that we've started back in February, they do invitational grants. We were asked to apply for $10,000 to be able to do 300 cat surgeries in the Murfreesboro zone with a 37130 zip code. And then it also includes money for marketing and some supplies. The reason it has to be narrowed down to that and not open to all county residents is so we can track data to see if we were successful with those surgeries. So this is just asking for y'all's approval so we can go ahead and get everything signed and turned in so they can send us the money.
My district's 37129, so.
Move to approve.
Thank you, Commissioner Jernigan. Second, Commissioner Bob. Call the roll.
Commissioner Baum?
Yes.
Commissioner Jernigan?
Yes.
Commissioner P?
Yes.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Pass.
Commissioner Jordan?
Yes. Motion passed. Thank you, Mr. Gregory.
Thank you all.
Mr. Donnelly. Ambulance Service Fund Budget Transfer.
We're asking to transfer $50,000 into our overtime pay line item. We propose to do that by taking $33,000 from our paraprofessionals payroll, $15,000 from the dispatch payroll, and $2,000 from the office payroll. In addition to that, we're asking to transfer $5,000 into the supervisor's payroll, and to take that money from office payroll.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Thank you, Mr. P. Mr. Jernigan. Any further questions or discussion?
I just want to say thank you for going in your budget, pulling that out. I appreciate it.
A lot less painful if we don't go under undesignated fund balance. Call the roll.
Commissioner Bond?
Yes.
Commissioner Jernigan?
Yes.
Commissioner P?
Yes.
Mr. Schaefer?
Yes.
Mr. Jordan?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Nunley. Budget, general fund budget amendments for the sheriff's department. Got some guys with guns just walked in, so we're in good shape. Not armed?
Good evening.
You Sheriff?
How are you, sir?
Fine. Ms. Rosemary, you doing all right?
I'm doing fine, thank you. Okay, we'll start with the amendments. The first one is to recognize additional funds received from the Organized Crime Drug Enforcement Task Force. This goes into overtime and related benefits. The second one is to transfer within our budget from various accounts going into utilities. Third one is to fund unemployment expense for the remainder of the year, going actually just from the sheriff's side unemployment compensation going into the detention side unemployment compensation.
Make a motion to approve the request.
Motion to approve the three requests. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Mr. Baum. Any further discussion?
How are we gonna make it on the utilities now that we?
Yes, sir, I think so. I tried to do as best as I could as far as for the rest of the year, hopefully so.
So we've stopped bleeding on the water, or?
Hopefully.
Maybe that's.
Well,
Yes.
Are those meters accurate now?
As far as we know.
Well, you thought they were
Sorry,
before.
but yeah, and I can tell you too, just recently, in the past 6 weeks, level 3, the A pod and D pod, we were able to put the push buttons in. So level 2 is complete, half of level 3 is complete, and we are still working the way up the building. That's one reason why those of you that get my report every so often about the inmates and the male inmates sleeping the way that they are is because we have those pods shut down for maintenance of putting in the push button showers to help reduce the water. It's got like a 15-second spray on it, and then you have to push the button again instead of just turning it on and letting it run like your household shower. So.
You got to dance around the water pretty fast, I guess.
Yes. Get wet, lather, rinse off, go.
Call the roll.
Mr. Baum?
Yes.
Commissioner Jernigan?
Yes.
Commissioner P?
Yes.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan?
Yes.
okay, and then on the special purpose, we have asked for the revenue asset forfeiture funds of
That'll be
$30,600.
item number 21 for those of you on your iPads. Sorry. Go ahead.
Hang on just a second. Let's
Okay,
get to
that's
that.
fine.
Got to us late. Sorry to have interrupted.
Okay, so it's the asset forfeiture funds of $30,646. They'd like to move $13,146 into confidential, $2,500 into $499, which is other supplies and materials, and $15,000 for data processing equipment.
Move approved.
A motion approved from Mr. Jernigan. Have a second?
Second.
Second, Commissioner Baum. Further discussion or questions?
Are these funds capable of being used anywhere else?
Yeah, I can use them at my discretion, naturally according, the sheriff or the chief law enforcement officer is over these funds. And we've used a lot of these funds in the maintenance of the jail. I've used more of these funds for things around the facility than it has ever been used. Since the will of the commission was to fund our narcotics position several years ago, that's where every year, last year I think we pulled, I forget, about $250,000 we used for something. You know, we're constantly using it around the facility. It's not, we have a project that we're doing. I can tell you, I think, in about 709, we're wanting to move that money into 709. That's for computers. Other than that, I can't tell you what the special purpose of things are, because we're constantly doing investigations, and we have gone from doing a lot of street corner investigations to doing a whole lot more bigger investigations, taking lots more manpower, a lot more resources. You know, we went from doing probably street corner investigations, you know, every night, to doing investigations that call for a lot of resources lasting months.
So this is something you could use on overtime for those guys that are doing that?
We've moved some money into overtime, and even in next year's budget, there's money that's being allocated for overtime. So, yes.
All right, thank you.
Call the roll.
Commissioner Baum?
Yes.
Commissioner Jernigan?
Yes.
Commissioner P?
Yes.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan?
Yes. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Got everything?
Thank y'all, gentlemen. Y'all have a good night.
You too. Correctional Work Center.
They're gonna take that.
I gotta just go back to mine. There were several employees, some long-term employees that have left employment, and so when they leave, we do have to pay out their comp time balances, and that hits the department's overtime budget. So they are overspent currently as it is, and so we would like to request to move $21,000 in there from items in his budget. This gets him ahead, and he's got several employees that are at the door of 240 hours, and at that point, when they reach 240 hours of conduct, we have to pay them overtime. So hopefully that at the end of the year we'll have some money available to knock those balances down. So this is a request to move money of $21,000 into overtime, taking $5 from part-time and the other balance out of other contracted services.
Move to approve.
Thank you, Commissioner Jernigan.
Second.
Second, Commissioner Schaefer. Any further discussion? Call the roll.
Commissioner Baum?
Yes.
Commissioner Jernigan?
Yes.
Commissioner P?
Yes.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan?
Yes. Motion passed. General Purpose School Fund Budget Amendments. Director Odom, Mr. Savick, Mr. Clardy. Welcome.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to thank the mayor for his being one of the sponsors at the prayer breakfast this morning. Also.
But we'd like to thank you for being the one that said the very moving prayer for our educational system and all its staff members.
Thanks for lending your name. Would you like for me to take these together or separately, whichever one, except for the last one, which is a separate number?
I think we'll start with them all together until somebody has a problem, and if we do, we'll pull them out, pull them apart.
Okay, of course, with the time of the year where we were making budget amendments to balance the budget, so this is most of these are rather routine. Number one is for certified staff. This amendment reallocates $106,516 in already budgeted staff and related $8,379 in benefits. No new positions are involved. The amendment covers 2 vacant payouts, an additional 37 days for the retired vocational ed coordinator, reallocates the vacant vocational clerk salary to the CTE specialist position, which began last year, and covers other changes caused by the turnover. Number 2 is insurance. This amendment reallocates $465,223 in already budgeted medical insurance, life insurance, and long-term disability insurance based on staff the Board of Education now has in place after the 2015 re-enrollment. No new funds are being used. Number 3 is vocational materials and supplies. This amendment reallocates $70,004 in already budgeted vocational materials and supplies to the line items where the funds are needed this year. No new funds are being used. $68,364 is for the major function 71,300 vocational ed and 1,640 for 77,230 vocational ed program. Number 4 is a GPS budget amendment for technology. The big unfunded mandate, and Mr. Schaefer, in the 2015-16 general school budget is $3,148,730 to upgrade existing computer labs, add new computer labs, and purchase laptop carts that we may be able to handle online testing next year. This amendment takes $1 million of the growth local sales tax revenue and budgets it for $1 million in instructional equipment so the technology department can start ordering and installing equipment in May. That's one I probably need to explain. I don't know.
Probably wouldn't hurt.
Those are
Being on helping it, I've heard the explanation, but lighten the rest.
what we have here is the state's going to online testing, and they're requiring units that are at least Windows 7 based computer units. A lot of ours are Windows XP. We're actually 3,721 short of the minimum number that the state says that we're to have. We are supposed to have enough computers to test 1/2 of your largest grades simultaneously. And so it varies a little bit from building to building. And of course, some schools are older. Some of our newer schools already have the Windows 7. That's not an issue. So what we're asking to do there is, and this $1 million would likely, if approved by you and the commission, would come out of next year's budget. But this would be, instead ending fund balance, go ahead and order them. The actual first test using these computers are will be in late January, early February next year. So if our people can install them and image the computers, we can save money rather than contracting it out. So if we can take the $1 million now, go ahead and purchase those computers to arrive late this summer, then we'll have time to work on it rather than wait till after the next school year starts. We've actually worked out some things, I think, to try to get them as cheaply as we can. And I'm gonna pass out this same thing I did the other night, because it may be a little bit clearer for those that didn't see that the other evening.
Well, quick question, how much money is the state sending us to pay for this mandate?
Zero.
And the frustrating part is up until a few months ago, Windows XP was supposed to work.
Yes.
And all of a sudden, they just send out a memo, by the way, XP not gonna work. Of course, that's why the computer people are some of the richest people in the world nowadays.
Because we weren't covered for all of it. But if we had been able to use our XP computers, it would have been a much smaller number.
Number 6 under challenges, A, there is what I'm speaking to right now at this time. And again, you can see that number of what we need, 3,721. That's our latest bid for the desktop and the laptop. Another interesting thing that I mentioned the other night, we've got them a lock-in already. They're supposed to, Microsoft has gone from $1 to the vendor to install their Windows to $144. Now that they do not have any competition much, Linux and all seems to not be competing much anymore. So we've kind of got it locked in to save that if we go with these particular prices. One of the things that we run into with these units, they must have a keyboard. There's certain specifications, and so when we bid these out, it's with the state's minimum specifications for those computers. So anyway, that's kind of something we'd like to try to go ahead and order those computers next Friday after the Thursday night commission meeting, if approved, so we can get them on the way. It's kind of some locked-in prices and allow our people to do the installation instead of bidding that out.
So these kids are not even going to be able to take the test.
Well, here's what the state's saying. It's reading, language arts, and math next year that will definitely be online, probably social studies. Science will still be paper and pencil. Testing is going to computers. The state is saying it's about $6 higher per pupil to do the computer, to test it on paper because of the scanning, the printing the paper and that, than it is to do it on an online assessment. As I said in health and ed, you know, it's really one of the things we also need to be teaching our students, because if you go and apply for a job at one of the major companies in Rutherford County now, it's very, very likely that person at Miami John's gonna have to take an assessment on the computer. They're gonna have to do their training on the computer, their safety training, and the other pieces that's associated with it. So while it certainly is aggravating and the time frame is terribly
Well,
inconvenient, it's not a bad idea.
Well, and I agree with all that. It's just startling to me because our system is not going to be hurt. But you take some of these smaller rural systems that don't have the computers in place, what are they going to do? I mean, the state's not giving them money
They're
for this.
probably, there's some of them better shape than we are, honestly, because of simply the numbers that we have. This has been
fewer pupils.
true, and the other thing in recent years, this has been the technology piece typically got cut. We had to cut the budget. We have been purchasing. We actually started purchasing some used computers at a pretty good deal on that. The problem is a lot of those were XP units. They work fine for our software for most of the things that you need, but lo and behold, when the testing comes along, they know it's no longer adequate. So, hindsight, that was now a mistake, but we thought XP would work. That's what they were telling us until last fall.
So what we're gonna see in your budget projection then is what, 2,148,000 is what it's gonna be for technology, because you're gonna use this 1 million now. And that's going to go for the upgrading and I'm sure and the labs and all this, and I'm sure that we get to pay ourselves for a lot of that testing that goes online too, or does the state give us something?
The state furnishes the assessment. Other than us having the units to do it, we don't have to pay additional for that. That's part of their.
They're not even going to give us the $6 per computer that we need to save them, right?
to take a paper and pencil.
Yeah.
They haven't offered that, and you know, they may, if they run into some problems, they'll be doing the paper and pencil some too. But I'm just saying, I know it's going the other way simply because of their bids and what they're getting about the increased cost for paper and pencil.
And so this will cover us on the computers that we need.
This will get us to the minimum.
Okay. And the other question is, what's underlying that hasn't come out yet?
You know, two years ago, we received a grant from the state for $2 million for infrastructure. So that $2 million we spent then to put in the Wi-Fi nodes in the building, all around the building to pick it up. We increased our bandwidth to that time. So we did infrastructure monies with that grant from the state that was 2 years ago, $2 million, almost entirely went to that. So I don't see necessarily a lot of other things now. In the budget this year, we are going from 1 gig to a 10 gig pipeline. The cost is not much at all. It's amazing. The 2 gig is almost as high as the 10 gig. And I noticed today some of the Comcast offerings and all that, just the number, it's really going up and what you can carry. Here's one thing about this test, kind of to explain it to you. When a student signs on, each student will sign on and a test will be downloaded to that unit that they're working on. So it's housed in that computer. They take their test, and Jeff may be taking the same test and I may be sitting here, but his questions may be jumbled or a slightly different test. So it's not exactly the same test everyone's taking. Then it is then set to upload to our servers, and sometime during the night, then those answers for the students are then uploaded to the testing site, the vendor. So it shouldn't be a huge bandwidth issue during the day when, you know, we got 40,000 students that are involved.
So that's why you want them early, so you can do a little testing to make
They
sure
need to
you're not going
practice
to
it.
crash. Well, I mean, with
They
that
need to
many
practice
online
it.
or on the same server, you may crash that server.
The new assessments next year, and actually in January, February, will be some essay, constructive response, many of those, and the students have to type in answers. It'll be better when they get to college someday, I think. Instead of a multiple choice, there will be a multiple choice assessment 90% of the way through the school year. That's when they have to turn around the scores quickly. That'll be typically where our TCAP and end of course are now. But the new real change in the test that requires the heavy use of computers will be the one that's 60% of the way through the year, again, late January.
Didn't you use computers for some of that testing this year?
They are field testing some social studies and having a time.
I was wondering, oh,
It's cutting some. We've had all over the state. It's cut some kids off and it dropped them. Lost their link, had trouble logging back on. So we actually had a meeting with the state Wednesday, and that's a vendor that they no longer plan to use. So they're now, I think probably a different vendor will even be giving that social studies test.
so
maybe
when
next
the new
year.
vendor comes out this year,
They've already selected a new, last December,
Okay.
Measurement Inc. received the bid from the state.
okay, and if this, okay, who picks up the pieces this coming year if it doesn't work that much better?
They're gonna have trouble getting accountability measures if their system doesn't work. Part of this is your federal mandate for the accountability process with the waiver and the No Child Left Behind. It's still tied to that.
Need a motion?
Yes, sir.
Make a motion approved.
Motion to approve.
I don't, all of it or what? I don't
All
think-
4 of these. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Further discussion? Call the roll.
Commissioner Bond?
Yes.
Commissioner Jernigan?
Yes.
Commissioner P?
Yes.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan?
Yes. All right, we're down to the
14?
Energy Efficient School Initiative Loan Agreement.
Right. We did receive a grant from the state. We're in the energy conservation. You have approved for us in the past the water conservation, the lighting, those particular items. That's beginning the payback. One of the things, and we retrained one of our own employees to be the management, and we already control it. You could probably walk in our central office out there now, and the light on the Coca-Cola machine wouldn't even be on. There's a sensor on the wall. Nobody walks by it in a while, it goes off. And cycle off at night units all over the system where we have availability, cycle them off temperature-wise, that sort of thing, cycle them back on in the morning. One of the things that we will need to do next, and we'll come to this, we need to put in some measuring tools, and as you look at that, and I'm going to let Gary Clark explain this to you, you need some units to measure how much saving you're getting, what efficiency you have. If we bid this out to a private vendor to do our energy management, then their contracts always call to get a lot of your savings. But we'd rather pay our man, and we would still then have to pay for the measurement tools that they would put in to measure the energy usage. That would come out of any savings too, plus they get their share of savings. But if we do this ourselves and we can get really good at this, then the savings is going to come to Rutherford County. So this piece primarily will start the measurement tools to give us better information of where and again how we can increase that. Let my engineer take over, Mr. Clardy, if he will, and explain that to you in more detail.
On the most recent schools we built, we put automated controls on all of our heating and cooling devices. There's some schools that are antiquated now from the earlier ones that's built. They're not on the same system that we're currently using that everyone likes. So this money will help us to put Rock Springs Middle, Smyrna High School, Sturts Creek Middle, Laverne High School, Riverdale and Oakland High School, and Blackman High School and Middle School on some different devices that will help us to control the energy consumption in those on off-peak hours. We have things within this loan, which is a 3/4% interest rate, that will help us control our coolers and freezers in our cafeterias. That will make them more energy efficient. Also, some boilers that we have some monitoring controls and load controls. Also, in this process, our energy manager, Jeff Stacy, will be getting some training in measuring and verifying through a contract we have with Ron Graham, who is independent consultant.
So we're not adding a person, we're utilizing somebody that's already in place doing something similar.
Took one of our maintenance people, as you want to call him.
We took a maintenance man, a couple of years ago. We had a grant from Energy Efficiency School Initiative for him to be trained and also to pay for 1 year of his salary. Now the savings that we're receiving on the things that we've done over the last few years is paying for his salary every year. And we hope to keep this kind of saving snowball going so we can save more money all the time.
Any estimates on what you think an annual savings may be on these that you're updating?
Currently, last year we had the payback period on these are 3 years to 4 years. Some of them are a lot less than that. So I don't know what the average would be, but I know we're going to save $678,000 in the next 4 years.
Probably right about 3 years or a tad under, because some of them are significantly shorter.
So the savings is not just paying the interest, it's paying the principal back on this one.
Right. Yeah. And then after that, of course, that'll be savings we can show in other areas.
Are you going to move, the schools you mentioned were all the high schools, which are bigger, some middle schools in there, I think, but anyhow, they got a lot of wings going every which direction. Are you going to be able to set it different for different wings?
We can from the office.
Okay.
So from the energy manager's desk, he can go in there and set them. He can also print out a chart that shows us how much savings we're getting from the software that we're using. A lot of these, the energy, our cost is determined by the peak demand. In other words, the most demand you have. So some of these controls will level that command or demand down, which will lower the entire bill for the month's bill. You may have to even start it earlier at a lower temperature instead of kicking it all on once and it peaking out. But you can start it lower and keep it leveled out for a longer period of time. And the difference in the demand, the peak demand, will save you money over the month. Those types of things. And I have some charts here. Maybe I can show you one. This is some of the printouts that we're getting. And this is before the last few years, 3 years, we haven't worried about our spring brakes and those types of brakes. But you can see the difference. We didn't control them.
We just didn't control
them. We didn't control them. And so you can see the savings in this spring break area than when school's actually going on. And some of these peaks, we hope to get them down lower so the demand cost will be less, charge will be less. So this is Siegel High School, as a matter of fact. So we're beginning to, measure and verify all of these savings and things. Last year we had, according to Jeff, Jeff Stacy, we had savings of about $250 a year on some things that we had changed throughout the system, and that was without weather normalization and the
Add 3 zeros.
Add 3 zeros. Did I say? I was 250,000. I'm thinking in thousands.
You got a $300 million plus budget.
$250,000. I'm thinking in thousands instead of dollars. But we had those savings, and it wasn't normalized for weather or the cost of the increase on power. So they're probably considerably more than that. And these programs that we are installing now will let us do the weather normalization and put in for correction on the energy cost.
Personally, I don't see a downside. $678,000 loan being paid back over 3 years. That's over $200,000 a year. 3 to 4 years. That's $150,000 to $200,000 a year. After those 4 years, that's just money that doesn't come out of the taxpayers' pockets.
And we could have paid it back in 3, but we don't have to start paying until the last dime is spent on this loan. So we'll have quite a bit of savings over those, over a year or so that will not be paid. And so there's a lot of advantages. For instance, there might be some areas where we can save more money than 0.75% on the money we have borrowed during that period. So it's a good program. It's energy efficiency school initiative that helped a lot of people throughout the state to reach their goals.
Mr. Clardy was on that state panel for a while, so he kind of understands the ins and outs and what the monies were designed to do. So
I'm kind of like Will. I've been looking a way to get off of it. I haven't figured that out yet.
I'll make a motion to approve this initiative here.
Thank you, Mr. P. Second by Commissioner Jernigan. You know, between the geothermal heating and cooling we've done at all our schools for the last several years now, and all these energy efficiency things, man, we're saving big dollars. And I hope people realize that, you know, because we just put $170,000 whatever into the sheriff's, moved it for a utility line. And you know, with the number of schools we've got, you know, we're spending millions and millions of dollars a year on utilities. And I really appreciate the work the school system and staff, the school board and staff have done on these saving measures, because they've all paid themselves back, and we're kind of on the plus side of nearly all of those programs now, and it's been a great experience. And I just want to give you guys a pat on the back, because personally I appreciate it. It's saving a lot of money.
And 6.8 million under roof kind of stands out at you when you look at that last thing on the other sheet, and that doesn't include the detached buildings.
I'd just like to commend the school board, because we have an energy policy in effect now, and they have committed for, you know, those part of those savings to go back in to try to help us save more energy. So.
Call the roll.
Commissioner Baum?
Yes.
Commissioner Jernigan?
Yes.
Commissioner Peak?
Yes.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan?
Yes.
Have we had any problems with the metal roofs?
No, we've really watched those things have gone on. The only problem that we've had is the one at Eagleville that was put on 15 years ago or so, and the installation wasn't controlled and managed as it is now. But we haven't really had much problem. We hope to get a very long life out of those, and that will help us, although it will be very expensive when time comes to replace those roofs. We hope to get at least three times as long out of those as we are getting the membrane roof.
You're not having a repair problems and money spent there? Like
No, the greatest issues we've had are like flashings and where they come into parapet walls. And we have continued to rework that detail until we've managed to get rid of those problems.
That's great.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mr. Nolan, we have a solid waste fund budget transfer.
What we're asking to do here is, we've been several drivers short since Thanksgiving. So we ran drivers on overtime, and we're still short on drivers, so we're asking to move $14,000 from the payroll line item to the overtime line item.
There's also a,
number 2.
yeah, there's a second one, which is to correct longevity in one account that's $75 short, and moving $75 from the part-time line item to that longevity line item to cover that.
Motion to approve the transfers.
Second.
Motion and a second by Commissioner P and Commissioner Schaefer. Any further discussion? Call the roll.
Commissioner Baum?
Yes.
Commissioner Jernigan?
Yes.
Commissioner Peak?
Yes.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan?
Yes. All right, let's talk about land purchase.
You stay up here while we for a number of months have been, really for a few years, we've been trying to find a suitable location to do a range of things, including solid waste office, solid waste, other operational support facilities, and a vehicle maintenance facility. So we have iterated several times with an owner of 19 acres, which is directly across the street on Florence Road there from the where the Murfreesboro City has their vehicle,
their public works
department, you might say. So
that land gets mighty wet.
Well,
it used to until Murfreesboro built what they built. They've corrected a lot of drainage issues.
There have been some drainage improvements made there, so there's no creek or otherwise there.
I've seen flooding there for years. I hadn't been through there in a heavy rain lately, but that's something we definitely need to.
The city side where they built was a lot more problematic than the property on this side, although that road used to be closed during the flooding years ago.
But we can save money by not running trash trucks in the flood, so that's a good thing.
No, we don't think that's a problem, but anyway, we have, the Property Management Committee gave us permission to discuss this and negotiate with this and bring it back to them for their approval. So they have been a part of this discussion process this whole time. So we finally arrived at a price of $1,250,000, and that the owner has agreed to accept, conditioned on two things. One being a negative finding on the Phase 1 environmental study, and number two, no land to be in the floodplain, floodway, or otherwise. So with your approval, we have 120 days to actually close it and do our further due diligence just a little bit before we actually pay for it.
There was a lot of fill hauled in on that corner of Singer Road and Florence for several years ago. They had a site that were allowing people to dump rock and dirt, so I would hope if we looked at that site, we'd had somebody to check and make sure there's nothing we wouldn't want to inherit right there.
We'll have to check the whole 19 acres as far as environmental studies, so that will be done, and that's a condition of being acceptable for the property.
I was by there today, actually just a few hours ago, and the sign says like 21 or 2 acres.
That's included the middle of the railroad track. Of course, you've got an easement. So what they're actually selling, you get all the way to the easement, but they're selling actual usable property.
So you guys have already
argued
them out of 3 acres or something like that.
We knew it was only 19, so
and then
of usable property.
Yeah.
The other thing that we were looking for was a large enough piece of property to do the facilities that we need to do, but we also needed to be on a sewer system instead of a septic tank system. When Murfreesboro built their fleet maintenance and all their process, they brought the sewer literally right across this property. So the sewer is on the property, but the property is actually in the county. It's in the very triangle of the city.
So we got frontage on Singer Road and Florence Road.
And the railroad tracks. And Murfreesboro city limits on 2 sides of the triangle.
Well, I know you answered one of my questions, having said that sewer was there. Now explain to me why we need 19 acres, or we can use some of it and sell part of it, or tell me why we were looking for that large.
I think long term we'll need every bit of this. We have a whole range of things that we need. A vehicle maintenance location. There's a whole lot of things that can happen with solid waste that we really, as far as processes and things and procedures that we're not even doing now. So it's an opportunity for us to, maybe we won't use but a half of it, a third of it, but I'll tell you 10 years from now, we'll really be glad that there is not any property out there available in the appropriate location at a price that we can afford.
Well, I know, gosh, it's probably been 10 years ago, we were looking for some property, and 68,000 an acre for anything with sewer on it, as close as we could come. This is about 65, 7, so unless I'm doing my math wrong.
Yeah, that's correct.
So sounds like you got a good price going there.
To kind of help answer your question, we're looking at a fleet maintenance facility could possibly do all the vehicles for the county.
Is
So
the
that's gonna be a,
garage gonna be there too?
yeah.
Yeah.
So that's gonna be a large piece of property. And we're looking at moving the solid waste operation that's currently behind Old Armory, moving it up there. The corner of Singer and Florence Road is a possibility, depending on how things go, will be a convenience center.
We want, right now, what we propose to do is get the land, work on a site plan, which would include current needs and leave spaces for available other things in years to come. So we sort of have a little bit of a master plan, and but we worked this price down from $1.6 million to this right here. That's what's happened over the last 3 or 4 months.
So you've got I'd say we've got a good faith contract till you can get back to
I have a
them.
piece of paper whereby they have signed this and agreed to the conditions that we placed upon it. The third and most important thing, it's subject to the commission's final approval of funding.
The other piece of property that we were looking at was 9 acres at 1.5 million.
Well, they started that at 2.3 and got that down to 1.5, but this is twice the property.
Well, y'all done well on the negotiations from what I've seen. You need to help the school board out some.
They're doing a great job.
This is a bit of a tough to find these spots. It could be a potential convenience center. It could be where the garbage trucks will be parked and stuff. But you need something that's accessible, but people don't want to live right beside that.
Mm-hmm.
And this piece of property has got sewer, it's got access to main roads, and there's not really any houses except the house on the property. There's one more, I think, right there. That's close, but
the house in the middle of the property goes with the property. Yeah. There's a smaller house and a double wide that actually faces Singer Road that are available, but right now we don't have a need for the property.
Yeah. Right now. But a lot of people don't. We've been looking for a new convenience center in Leanne as long as I've been a commissioner, and we haven't found a spot yet. Because everybody wants it right down the road, but not right beside them.
Well, how do we propose to pay for it?
Ms. Nolan, you've already sort of know about this when you determined the whole list of things in the bond issue that we made. Land for this particular type of purchase was included.
We added, if you remember, we added $2 million worth of general capital projects, and I had a list. Good segue to tell you about the bond sale.
So we've got the money in the bank already, but go ahead and tell.
But yes, on our Series A, which included a payment for our 2004 and our 2005, 2006 that we're refunding. That's wrapped up into this one, but our rate was 2.8648, and we had 2, 4, 6, 7 bidders on it. Our refunding refunding of the 2007 bonds, our rate was 2.233.
I'll make a motion for it.
Motion approved, the purchase of the 19 acres.
I'll second.
Second, Commissioner P.
And allocating 1.25.
That's what it said.
1,250,000 of the bond proceeds.
And there may be a few dollars of closing.
Okay.
Plus environmental. And a little bit on environmental, but we don't have to have environmental. I can pay that out of our miscellaneous little dollars. We have enough to do that.
Sounds like a good plan. We've been looking for this for quite a while. Call the roll.
Commissioner Baum?
Yes.
Commissioner Jernigan?
Yes.
Commissioner P?
Yes.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan?
Yes. Authorization to apply for TDEC composting facility for solid waste.
TDEC approached us a couple of months ago. What they're wanting to do is they've got a little money that they need to spend, and they're wanting to offer up to a $2.5 million grant over 5 years for composting. The reason they came to see us, I'm glad the school board's here so they can hear this too.
Yeah.
The reason they came to see us is the city of Murfreesboro has the most facility. Rutherford County Solid Waste has right at 60 schools that we dump. So they're looking at doing it with food waste and mulch to create a compost. You can also add sewer sludge in with that. So what we're looking at doing is asking permission to apply for the grant to make this grant work, we're gonna have to get Murfreesboro Solid Waste, Rutherford County Solid Waste, City of Murfreesboro Schools, and Rutherford County Schools, all 4 entities together to help getting the grant written and who's gonna do what part of it. The grant is due August the 1st. The awarding of the grant, I think, is January 1st. And it's a 5-year deal. So right now, there's not gonna be any money in the 2015-16 budget to do the composting. So as we write the grant, we'll have to write it that we will start sometime fall of 16, because we won't have any money to do anything.
And it's a matching grant. 50%.
Yeah.
50%.
So they get to 2.5 million, we'll have to spend 5 million to get it.
And it will take, I mean, the primary, well, all of these people you just mentioned are a must to participate. We'll have to have some sort of local agreement, you might say, between these parties. And we have to have the composting location. The City of Murfreesboro, that's a key component of making this happen, because they have the mulch that can mix with all this stuff and make this process properly function.
Will you be asking for funding from Murfreesboro?
All of Murfreesboro will have to agree that they're going to participate. Now, when they get this application completed, we'll know what pieces, how much equipment we may need in addition to what we currently have, because we couldn't haul it with our current stuff. They may know how many dollars they're going to have to invest to improve their composting and mulching process. So all of that, yes, so we'll all be committed to whatever our part of it is, to matching our piece of it.
So we wouldn't be asked to match the full 2.5 million?
No, not us, not at all.
And more than likely, Murfreesboro Solid Waste would have the lion's share of the cost.
But we'd have to match something.
Yes.
We'd have to come up with
Yeah,
something.
we know he's got equipment that's not properly.
The Rutherford County School System already uses, is it compostable or biodegradable? Or both? Trash.
It's compost.
Flatware, plates, bags, all that kind of stuff. So that's already a start for them. So the city school system would need to do the same thing. And there's some other things that can be added in with it. The equipment needs that we would have to have is, we're not confident that the front loader system trucks that we currently use dumps it over the top and packs it back. If you pack up all that food waste, it's going to squish right around the blade. Those trucks only have about 1.5 foot tall header on them. So once you get all that liquid in it, it's coming out. So we're going to have a transportation source that won't leak.
Well, the question, I see the paragraph here, it's just one sentence. It's on the second page, I think. It says a local match at 10 to 50% is required based on economic index that includes factors such as per capita income and property values. And
We're the highest index.
Okay.
Yeah. 50%.
But that's 50% of what they get, right?
No, it means it's dollar for dollar match. They put in $1, we put in $1.
Now
Well, but it's a reimbursement match. To get it, we've got to spend it to get it.
Now, the end product, what's your plans for the end product?
The end product is a sellable material. So it would be something that would be for sale. That would have to be part of the agreement. Who's going to split revenues, that type of thing on it. Are you going to sell it in bulk, or are you going to sell it in bag? If you're going to sell it in bags, then you're going to have some kind of bagging equipment to make that work too.
Sounds like you got a place for a corner of that 19 acres.
Well, we think they've got the place over there on their property already with concrete, et cetera. So it's going to be a complicated application process. Really, all that they're asking is give permission. City of Murfreesboro have to get permission to, everyone is asking permission to just apply, subject to an interlocal agreement successfully being negotiated and prepared. So until such, and subject to final approval by the Board of Commissioners at the point of time that we may actually receive this grant. So this is just a very, very small beginning piece.
Well, let me ask you something. I mean, I don't have a problem with what you're asking for. As a matter of fact, I mean, I'm willing to go ahead and make a motion on it. But I do have a question. I know you said it was important that Murfreesboro City worked with us on that and because of the sewer, the sludge, that kind of thing. But could we not do the same thing with the city of Smyrna?
The city of Smyrna doesn't have a mulching facility. They take all their.
Oh, okay.
They
It's
take
the
their
mulching,
break.
it's not the,
That
I was thinking of the
That's a
sewer
major
system.
component of mixing this stuff
Okay.
together.
I thought part of this grant was that we were gonna
together.
come up with a
No.
mulching facility.
One of the questions that came up in Public Works was, is this what you want to do now? The timing is not really perfect for us. We still have free disposal. So if we get the grant, we start doing this, the numbers that I've come up with so far, the rough numbers, cost about $30 a ton to do the processing. So we're gonna spend $30 a ton to process stuff that we could actually throw away for free. But in the other instance, we're getting on the right track to be where we need to be 10, 12 years from now when the landfill closes. And if this works the way I envisioned it to work, the school systems will go from a 17% recycle rate to 60%. Because the heaviest thing they have is their food waste.
Would this be able to take in food waste from other areas, like Davidson, when it gets finished?
That's not our intent right now. Our intent would be get started and just use the school systems only, and then we'd have to look and see what it would require as far as operational and logistics to get the stuff there, what it's going to require to increase the size and everything else.
Well, composting food, especially with the animal fats in there, you gotta do that at a lot higher temperature. I mean, this is not gonna be normal composting, is it?
No, it won't be normal composting. Once you get it mixed up, all of it has to be ground and mixed together and put into the pile, and it's going to have to heat up to close to 160 degrees on the inside, and then you've got to keep the temperatures right. There's a lot of chemistry involved in it. If it rains too much, you've got to cover it up and keep the rainwater out.
Well,
if it gets too dry, you've got to add water to it.
Well, that's why I was wondering if there's, some kind of facility, because I know what Murfreesboro Cities looks like. It's open, and I know that temperature is critical on that, so, all right.
So was that a motion, Commissioner P?
That's a motion to let them apply for the grant.
Need a second?
Second.
Second, Commissioner Jernigan. Of course, this is just a motion to apply. Whenever we come back to accept the grant, we'll have pretty firm numbers at that point in time, I would hope. And then we always can say no if we don't like the numbers that were presented to us. It would waste a lot of man hours, but we could say no.
Application deadline is actually August 1st to get 4 government agencies to agree to one thing, but between now and October, we may miss the deadline. So.
The first thing you probably want to do, which would be the document that describes who's doing what piece of this and what cost and what investment we're making, will be some sort of interlocal agreement that someone's going to have to prepare. You'll have to approve that first before we can really get going.
That's got to make it back to us basically before the summer break or something.
Yeah, it really does almost, yes.
Well, you could still apply.
We could apply, but they're going to commit us and themselves and what have you to real definitive pieces here as to what our...
So they're basically really hurting to give away this money, is what you're telling me.
It's probably going to be pretty competitive. We had a meeting here in Murfreesboro, and there was probably 30 people at that meeting. That was just in Middle Tennessee. That was on Monday. Tuesday, they were in East Tennessee, and yesterday they were in West Tennessee doing the same pitch. And they had 2 pitches, one for the composting facility and another for convenience center grants, which we're not eligible for those.
But we could, by no means, is this a lot? We could.
No,
we could not get awarded this.
We could not. No, we could not get awarded, and they also could award multiple ones. Well, it's $2.5 million only. So if there's multiple ones, then everybody's splitting up that amount of money.
And all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed. Thank you, Mr. Nolan.
Thank you.
Authorizing the approval of general fund transfer for salary adjustment. Ms. Nolan.
Well, we were preparing the payroll budget for the next fiscal year. We found an employee's pay grade was not reported to us correctly for the current year, and we were able to take care of this employee salary because there was a position where one of the employees retired, so there was money available in the employee health insurance. Basically, we'll be able to take care of this employee for this fiscal year. This will be an increase of $4,570 for the teacher minimum, and money's coming out of health insurance and part-time.
Any questions?
Motion to approve.
Thank you, Commissioner Schaefer.
Second.
Second, Commissioner Baum. Call the roll.
Commissioner Baum?
Yes.
Commissioner Jernigan?
Yes.
Commissioner P?
Yes.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan?
Yes. Approval of contract with Tennessee Department of Mental Health for evaluations and treatment.
This, if you remember, covers the, trying to find where is it on mine? There it is, number 19. Okay,
What was
it's
it,
the one
70
where
days for that one kid?
we pay, the county's responsible for the mental health evaluations for those individuals that are, that the courts require this evaluation. When the charge is a misdemeanor only, the county is responsible. That contract that we have with the facility is expiring, and this, and we did check, the rates look to be the same as what we have currently, and it is for the next fiscal year and 4 more years after that.
And the rates stay the same?
Same rates.
I'll make a motion to approve it.
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Schaefer. Second by Commissioner Jernigan. No further discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. 2015-16 budget overview.
Where'd our box go?
So
So what is that budget?
Division of the state.
I can't believe we just left it out in the hall.
So you pay them.
I don't know how much we're planning into going into detail at this point in time to look over. We've got 2 committee members not here, so hope we don't.
Last year we didn't get one.
Y'all said,
Are they
Thank you.
any, oh, that's got your name
y'all
on it.
said you wanted something to write on.
Yes, thank you.
This
So-
paper was super.
The books are back.
Amen. Yeah. Especially.
I don't know if these are the right people.
So you take these home.
Thought we'd been doing this. in
Schaefer.
I think just handing out the books at this point, we're gonna have a bit of a rough overview, especially considering there's 2 members out, and I'm supposed to be at a soccer game my son's playing in. We started 15 minutes ago. But besides that,
Okay.
we meet again next Tuesday night to start this process.
Yes, we do,
we not?
Tuesday. So if you want to open your notebooks up, the story of where we are is on this page that you got to pull out under that. And this is where each of the departments are. The one you're looking for is titled Estimated Change in Fund Balance as presented for the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2016. As presented, we have several issues going on here. One, the HR department conducted a salary survey. As you can see, the total cost of that for the general fund, solid waste, and ambulance totaled $2,186,000. The mayor was reviewing that and sent it back and wants more work done on the you want to talk about it?
No, does that include these numbers that have step increases in them?
Yeah, this is an additional cost.
This is additional.
It is additional
I
cost.
thought we were saying that.
Yeah, but we were wrong.
You were wrong. Okay. Thank you.
So that this is an additional cost that he's asked the HR department to go back and look at and give him some other options. So I put that aside, and just to let you know that that's still a work in progress.
In the other county general and solid waste and ambulance, et cetera, the normal step increases are in those numbers.
Right.
But just, that's all that's in those numbers.
So some of the issues that we've got outstanding, and one that we just got today, there was a change in the ADA for schools on how much we share to the city school system in our revenue. There's a slight change in that may change some of the revenue numbers in the schools. I already spoke to the salary survey, that still needs to be worked, additional work. on that. And then our property tax on the estimate for that, I'm using 2013 data on tax freeze. I did not get the data from the assessor on how much the effect that is. It's not a really big number. Last tax year, 2014, it's not, the difference is like 90,000 overall, but that's just a little number that I need to correct. Currently, the funds that don't meet our policy, the general fund projected is less than 15%. I'm showing here it's at 13.63. Now I'm taking in consideration if the whole salary survey was funded, that's the number I'm giving you. That I bet my requirement's going to be off too. But anyway, it's a 13.63%, and our projection, our requirement is 15. There are currently deficit fund balances shown in the county general, ambulance, general purpose school funds, and the educational capital projects. Not in county general. Let's see, county general is not a deficit, but
It needs $1.2 million to, if you fully fund the salary survey, to meet the 15% policy.
okay. Now the highway, I'm giving kudos to the highway because I went back into old budgets. This is the first budget that's presented as balanced since 1999. Of course, I didn't have budgets before 1999, but so I'm giving kudos to them. All other funds have appropriations that exceed expenditures except for the highway, and we're currently showing $33,528,000 for. We have more appropriations than we have revenue. On a budgetary basis, our unassigned assigned fund balances is at $85,466,000. Positions in the county general that were requested, 43 full-time were requested, and 10 part-time.
Say that again.
There were 43 full-time positions requested and 10 part-time positions requested.
Who was that?
In the county general. Also within the request, and you'll find these positions are behind tab 1. That you'll see these in front of the green. That is all the requests. Behind the green is what the mayor has, his recommendation. But all positions requested were at a cost of $2,279,000. The mayor has recommended 21 additional full-times and eliminating 6 for a net of 15, 4 of which are covered by a grant. 16 part-time have been recommended, and 2 part-time are recommended eliminating, for a net of 14 additional part-time, 1 of which is covered by a grant. Now, of the positions recommended by the mayor, the total cost of those net all the positions given out totals $1,106,127. If you wish to balance the revenues to the expenditures, general fund would need 9.35 cents, solid waste would need 1.23 cents, ambulance would need 3.13 cents, schools are at 41.26 cents, debt service is at 3.37 cents. So if you wanted to balance with revenue to match the expenses or appropriations of where we are today, you would need 58 cents.
That's if we.
That's why I said there's a.
If we approve everything on everybody's wish list.
If you approve everything as this budget.
This is a very preliminary number. We
Very
haven't even
preliminary.
started, this committee hasn't even started going over budgets yet, you know, and stuff, so.
Yes.
Let's not
And
scare
then-
scare the public too much at this
I
point.
didn't
Use
want
no
to-
fund balance.
And use no fund balance.
Use no fund balance.
Yeah.
So this is where we do, I guess this is kind of where you start. And those, as we move forward, you'll be inspecting the budgets and we'll be reviewing revenue all along come June, our June meetings, we'll have, we'll go over the revenues and estimate what we think the current year is going to be, and so that additional revenue could help offset this. You know, that will roll into fund balance, so we could use that next year. So that's.
And we have to
where we
budget
are.
conservatively. We budget for the
Yes.
worst possible case scenario, with every bit of the expenditures being spent and the least possible amount of money coming in. So, of what our, so let's not scare the public to death
Well,
quite
let's
yet.
go ahead, let's-
I don't think anybody's proposing a 58-cent tax increase.
Well, I knew that they wouldn't. I knew they wouldn't. There is a tab that talks about where all of our revenue comes from. And it, just like all other years, that current levy provides at least 30% of our total budget. State revenue, which makes up 41% of our budget, and that is primarily coming from the schools.
Well,
From the
did you
schools.
make a projection on what a penny's worth in there at all?
Yes, sir, I do. 633,000 for a new penny.
School penny in the high fives, I guess.
Okay, it is right behind, it's, a school, additional school penny is 541,714.
But everybody's got their book to take home, and they can't sleep, good late night reading there.
Use it for a pillow.
I don't know how far we need to delve in this night. We've got two members not here.
Well,
And
this
we're
is-
gonna see every page of this over the next
Absolutely.
few weeks and months, so.
And this is the time when we hand it off to you. The school board is continuing on their journey. We meet with them in May.
Yeah, I don't have the list with me of what we'll start off with Tuesday night.
The
We have community learning, county commission, board of equalization, property assessor, reappraisal, county mayor, human resource, county attorney, election commission, register of deeds, planning, stormwater, environmental, county buildings, archives, insurance, finance, trustee, county clerk, GIS, and information technology.
It'll be a quick meeting.
The last two.
Well, thank you for providing us notebooks so that we can write things down and be prepared before the meeting, look over all these charts, and I think that's going to be an improvement.
Okay, and then it's not out on the web yet for community,
We'll
but,
have that out tomorrow in the SharePoint documents.
and the department heads have got their stuff, it'll go into their box tonight.
Tuesday.
Anything else? Any other business? Do it with tonight? For any soccer enthusiasts out there, Oakland and Siegel are playing at this point in time for the district championship in the boys soccer at the Siegel Soccer Park. And both those teams will advance to the regions, which will start next Tuesday. And so if anybody wants to go see some good soccer, there's been a lot of good soccer played this week. Nearly every game's gone into overtime between Smyrna and Oakland, and Laverne and Oakland, Smyrna and Siegel, Blackman and Siegel almost went to overtime. A lot of good soccer going on. Go to Siegel Park right now and cheer for your local kids playing soccer.
And don't forget, Riverdale and Smyrna went into the Golden Goal. They played over 100 minutes.
Yeah, yeah. But if nothing else, we are adjourned.